You're listening to the Smoke Meat Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. We are brought to you today by Joe's Underground in Augusta, Georgia, at the corner of 8th and Broad. It's a great place to go. Great food, great drinks, great people. Jeremy and the gang know how to treat everyone. They treat you like family. Right now, we're having a little shutdown because of the pandemic, but as soon as that's over, we're going to have one hell of a party there. Want everybody to come on down. Right now, go on Facebook, get your t-shirts from them. They've got the coolest new t-shirts. Remember, I goes to Joe's and so should you. This morning, I had a chance to speak to one of my childhood heroes. It was so amazing. I got to have a good talk with Enos Strate himself. That's right, Sonny Shroyer. Sat down and talked to me for a good long while this morning. We had a good time, just two old Georgia boys. Y'all sit down, take a listen, and enjoy. Here we go. Well, Sonny, how are you this morning, man?
Man, I tell you what, I feel like an old hermit right now, but I feel great. I never felt like this in a long time because I got hair on my face that I never knew that it was that color, you know.
Yeah. I had to shave all mine off for these masks we got to wear now. I ain't used to that.
Wow, these masks are something else, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they killing me, but they keeping us safe.
Yeah, and Georgia is. I'm just afraid for a lot of people, including my wife and I. I'm 84 and she's 80, and we ain't never gone through things like this before, and I just wonder about our fellow Americans in Georgia. Some of them are not wearing masks and or gloves, and that's I don't know. It's gonna make that virus. It's gonna make that virus start grinning and killing more people if we don't be a little more careful. We hunker down and don't go out too much, but we do have to go out once in a while, and people need to be more careful, I believe, because when it gets on you, it don't have any mercy. I don't believe.
Not a bit. It's horrible. It's horrible, man.
Well, you doing okay up there?
Yeah, we're keeping all our precautions up. You know, when I'm on ambulance, I wear my mask and my gloves and gown and everything when I have to. And when I get home, because I'm so high risk of being out and about in it, you know, I'm staying down here in the basement in my little studio. I done put an air mattress down here, and I go upstairs to eat or whatnot, be with the family for a minute or two, but I still don't get right on them. And I tell you, it's
God
rough.
Bless you. You got kids?
I do. I got a 19-year-old girl and a 17-year-old girl.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
What's their names?
Katie and Maddie.
80?
Katie.
Spell that.
Yep. Katie.
Oh, Katie. Okay.
Yeah. And Maddie.
Oh,
yep.
That's great. What do they think about this virus?
Oh man, they're being good. They're staying in. The only time they go out is if they get to go to the grocery store or something with the mama. They're staying in and keeping themselves busy, watching TV and playing games. This thing's neat. It's brought board games back. They'll play Trouble and things like that. And
I looked under the bed yesterday. I looked under my bed, and guess what I saw?
What'd you see?
A Monopoly game.
Oh, boy, that's a sure way to start a fight in the household. Woo!
I tell you, I haven't played Monopoly in so long. I love that game when I was playing it many years ago, about 60 years ago. It's a great game. It teaches you a lot about business, you know, and it really does. Monopoly.
Yeah.
But anyway, brother, well, you're still working as a paramedic?
I am. I'm going in tonight, as a matter of fact.
Well, God bless you, buddy. You said you had a couple of strokes. That's been what 5 years ago or something like that?
Right on 5 years ago. Yep.
What's it feel like when you have strokes?
I tell you, it's a scary thing. I take my stroke patients. I always took them serious, but I can sympathize with them now because even though I could talk, it was a stutter that you couldn't understand, and in my head everything was clear. But trying to make it come out, it wouldn't come out right. And that's just so scary because you can't be yourself.
Wow, man! How long did it take you to get over that? Are you paralyzed anyway? You're not paralyzed?
I was real lucky on that end. I didn't get paralyzed anywhere. It just kind of scrambled my eggs a little bit.
Wow!
I just got back on the ambulance back in early November, but I had been in an emergency room working for a good while.
Wow! God bless you, buddy. I'm glad you're okay now. That's wonderful. You back at work, and you working in Warrenton? Where you work? Warrenton, Fayetteville.
I'm just south of Fayetteville, around Spalding.
Okay.
Yep, that's where I work at.
Georgia, right?
Yep.
Well, what would you say to Georgians about this this virus? Have you picked up people that had the virus that you know of?
I have picked up people that have had it. I've had to transfer people that have had it, and I tell you, this thing, it don't care who you are. It don't care who your daddy is. It don't care what religion, age, race, anything. It'll take you out, and it'll do it fast. It's horrible.
Have you had people? You had many people with the virus that you picked up?
I have had several that I've picked up, and like I say, we do hospital-to-hospital transports too, and we'll have to take them on the van up to Atlanta, and it's just such a terrible thing because we don't know nearly as much about it as we think we do, and people are getting real complacent right now, especially now that we open back up, and I understand needing to open some businesses back up because people got to eat. They got to earn their money.
Sure, I understand that.
I wish that people would have common sense while they're out and about, though, because they're not having it. They're not wearing their masks. They're getting close to each other, and it don't make sense. People just. It's something easy to take care of.
I don't think people that we're used to being free as a bird and shaking hands and loving people in Georgia and hugging necks and everything, and it's hard not to do the same old thing that you've been doing for 40, 50, 60 years, or even 5 or 10. You've been taught to be friendly to people, and it's hard to change overnight about things, and it could cost you your life, and so we need to bear down and be more careful. The banks are doing it. At least my bank is doing it, making sure you're 6 feet apart in the grocery stores, some of them. Mm-hmm. But most people are not wearing a mask, and we pray that they will start wearing a mask and being more careful and doing distances between people, because it only takes one person to spread it like a wildfire.
Yeah, exactly.
And we need to be more cautious on that. But on the brighter side, this has changed a lot of people, and a lot of people are staying in, I'm sure, right now, and some people are not. But you tell me about this podcast. I never heard of podcast until a few months ago. The podcast is, and this is called Smoke Meat, eh?
Yeah, called Smoke Meat. Yep,
Smoke Meat. You're listening to Smoke Meat and Brad Pittman. Is that your real?
That is my real name.
Podcast name.
That's my real name.
And you use it on your podcast?
Yep, I do.
Well, that's good, buddy.
I do. I tell you, I've been doing this since about July, and here recently, I've got to where I'm interviewing people, and I figured out, if I can get hold of somebody and talk to them, then I'm gonna try and interview them, and that's kind of how this worked out, And
well, that's good, buddy. That's good. Do you want to ask me any questions about whatever, Dukes of Hazzard or whatever?
Yeah. Actually, before we get to Dukes, I'm gonna go a little bit further. Smokey and the Bandit. That's my favorite movie of all time.
Oh my goodness, that's a long story there. Oh,
Yep.
Hal Needham, God bless him. He was our director and a very good friend of Burt Reynolds, and he was director on Smokey and the Bandit. He was, he was a tree surgeon. As I was told, he used to be in the tree business, climbing trees and cutting limbs off of trees and cutting down trees.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be crazy to do that, and you got to be a stunt man. And Hal was probably one of the best stunt men in the world. I think he's got a record of doing the most turnovers of a car in the world. And he fudged a little bit, I heard, and this is just a rumor because I don't know if this is a fact, but I was told that he's got the record of, he did it on a beach in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Put a pole, like a telephone pole.
Mm-hmm.
He rigged it up in the car and with some dynamite, and he'd get it going real fast and blew the thing down to make the pole go down in the beach and make the car turn over and over and over and over. And that was what I was told many years ago. And he held the record of a car turning over and over and over. And that's some kind of engineering to do that with dynamite and a telephone pole. But that was told to me, I don't know, about 25, 30 years ago. And whether it's true or not, I'm not sure. But I worked with Hal on, he was my director on there, and I was a motorcycle cop that arrested Jerry Reed. And that was before 85 or 285, I believe it was 285, going around Atlanta, north of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
We did that back, I don't know, 41 years ago or something like that, and they were still working on the circle that goes around Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. And they still ain't finished with it.
Yeah, but anyway, that the one that's there now is what we did, and I said, hell, I'd gone up there from Valdosta the first time. They told me to come up there and do the shot, and I went up there and waited all day in the motel and waited 8 hours, 9 hours for them. They came to me that night and said, we didn't get to you today, so I had to go back home. And that's 500 miles round trip.
Yeah.
To Atlanta to Valdosta, depending on what side of the town you're going on. Anyway, I went home and they called me again. I went back and drove right back up there. I drove up there and I drove the next morning. I spent the night. The next morning, went out to location and got in my uniform and everything. I said, "Hal, what do you want me to do with this motorcycle?" He said, "I want you to come around Jerry Reed and we motorcycle and pull him over and go about 55 miles an hour and pull him over and slow him down and I said, well, gosh, he said, stop and get off your motorcycle. We'll cut right there. And I said, good, don't you? He said, yeah, I want to look good. I said, well, let Willie do it. Willie was the greatest motorcyclist in the world, and he said, we ain't got time. I said, okay, I'll do it. I said, you told me it was going to be a Honda 500, and it's a Triumph, which gears are just the opposite. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't no motorcycle cyclist to speak of, but and he said, he thought about a minute or two, and he said, okay. Okay. I'll let Willie do that part. And anyway, we had a good time doing it. So Willie do it made me look good. And I'm when I got in the wrecked. He ended up wrecking because Sally Field gave me the bird with a funny finger. Ended up in the daggone creek. And anyway, it turned out real good. And I didn't even get credit for that until 40 years later. They did give me credit for it, but that was quite a when you get the bird from Sally Field, it affects your whole life.
Definitely.
Anyway, that was a fun deal. And 40 years later, I think Bert gave me credit for doing that, and that was a while ago. A lot of things have changed in 41, 2 years.
Yeah, definitely. Now the Dukes, I tell you, the Dukes, that was a huge part of my growing up. I mean, it just, man, it was just something. It was a good, clean show, and it was just a great show. And I remember when you left and went and did the show Enos. And,
well, yeah, that was 1978 when we started doing the Dukes of Hazzard.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Natchez, Mississippi, doing Freedom Road with Muhammad Ali, and that's another story too. I was a not too nice guy with a mustache, and think about that. I think that's the only time I had a mustache in a part, but except on the way home, I think I had a mustache in there. But I got a mustache and look like a hermit right now. But back then, I was in Natchez, Mississippi, and I met Muhammad Ali. He was a great guy. I enjoyed Muhammad Ali. I didn't know if I'd like him or not, to tell you the truth, with his big mouth. But he was one of the smartest men I ever met. He ran his mouth so we'd get mad enough to go see him get his butt beat when he never did hardly. But that man was great, and I met him and in the dressing room. And one morning, I said, "Muhammad, you reckon I could have a picture of you?" He looked at me for about 10 seconds and said, "You ain't so mean after all. Are you, buddy?" We got a picture together. He was a really nice man, and he loved to do magic tricks with kids, And they called me up. My agent called me up and said, "Well, you got the Enos part of Dukes of Hazzard." I didn't know what that was exactly, but I'd read for it about 3 months before. And I thought it was a dead deal, to tell you the truth. And I read for it as a bad guy. And Phil Manducker said, "You took all the fun out of that, didn't you?" I said, "Well, that's the way it goes." I started to leave the interview. And he said, "We're going to tape this one now." So I read it just opposite. And that was the one that I said, "Pew!" I was practicing with my gun shooting. And play like shooting, and brought back old memories of when I was 7, 8 years old, playing on the house across the street with Charles and William Jackson, my buddies, when I was 7, 8 years old. Anyway, they said I got the part, and I said, "I can't go." I said, "I'm doing this Freedom Road movie in miniseries out here in Natchez, Mississippi, and I got good fried pickles, by the way." And
man.
And I said, "I can't leave." And I said, "Well, that's too bad, man." And I didn't think I'd do anything. And they got together, the production managers got together and said, "We'll probably kill him off this coming week." And Monday or Tuesday, it was Friday night at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just did some bad things to Chris Christopherson, and And they released me, and I went to Atlanta, and the scene right before in Oxford at the college there was the first scene that I was in, where they jumped General Lee. The sheriff and I were there, and the General Lee jumped over us, and that was the first scene that I did in the Dukes of Hazzard back in 1978. And in Georgia here, we did 5 shows, and they moved it out to Warner Brothers in Burbank, California, in '79. And I was so smart, I didn't think I was going to go, because I didn't know if I'd be out there a month or a week. Or I ended up staying out in California 10 years, about 3 years too long. But anyway, it was a fun deal. I was a low man on the totem pole there, and 2 years I was offered my own show, the Enos Show. And I told this story a few times. And I told Guy Walden, who created the Dukes of Hazzard, I said, I don't want my own show. I said, these spinoffs never hardly go. And he said, well, you everybody wants it. Yes, Dukes of Hazzard. CBS wants it, and Warner Brothers wants it, and you'll be putting twice as many people to work. I said, well, I'd just rather be a working actor than a broke movie star. And I said, I don't know. He said, well, we'll put in your contract that you can come back to the Dukes if it don't go. And I said, well, golly, that's a bird nest on the ground. That's pretty good. And so he talked me into it, and I praise God he did. But when you mess with a number one show, you make enemies, and I didn't know it at the time. But the Enos Show went 17 shows and got 2 People's Choice nominations, and I got the People's Choice nomination, and the show got the People's Choice nomination. It's called Enos, just Enos.
I remember watching it when I was young, and I loved it.
Well, it was, they switched it around a few times, and it kind of upset me, because I didn't want to be switched around. They just didn't have it in one place long enough for it to catch on. It caught on. When you get a People's Choice nomination, it ain't something you get easily. And old Tom Selleck beat me out, and I love him. I think he's the greatest actor, one of the greatest actors. And I love him in Blue Blood, because that's one of my favorite shows right now. Blue Blood, he's a fantastic actor. And he's getting old. I'm older than he is, but I met him when they introduced the new shows, CBS's new shows, and Selleck is Sellick, I believe, and my name is Shroyer, Shroyer. So SE is right before SH, and he was in line right before I was, right before we came out. CBS introduced the new shows, and he was right in front of me, and I met him back in 81, I guess, 81, something like that. In Century City, I believe it was, in California, in a fancy hotel. And but he was a great guy. I just met him and shook his hand, and I admire him as a great actor. And we never did become friends, because I never saw him before in person after that. But he certainly is a great guy. Anybody that becomes a Louis L'Amour actor and is on the front page of a Louis L'Amour book.
You can't be all
Man,
bad.
you got to be something else. And he is a tremendous actor. He really did a great job on Magnum P.I. and back then. And but anyway, that basically a deal. And
Well, I tell you, I remember when I was young, and my dad passed when I was about 10. And
oh man,
one of the most awesome memories I have with him was not too long before that. I was about 8 or 9, and they had a car show down at the Augusta Richmond County Civic Center. And we went down there one Saturday morning, me, him, and my sister. And I stood in line for 45 minutes to shake your hand. And I still remember it like it was yesterday.
I remember.
Yep.
Augusta. When you say Augusta, that brings back over me. I remember that because the Augusta is James Brown, the fabulous James Brown.
Yes.
And another fabulous actor was Dub Taylor. Dub Taylor is from Augusta, Georgia. Dub Taylor, you young guys and girls out there don't know Dub Taylor maybe, but he was a sidekick to a lot of old Western, they called them B movies back then, but I think they were A-plus movies.
Oh, yeah.
That I grew up on and fell in love with when I was 5 or 6 years old. But Dub Taylor was, and I was in a movie called They Went That Way and That Way with Dub Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Dub Taylor, and I met James Brown, believe it or not, out in Hollywood Way when I was doing the Enos show. And James Brown had married this girl from her parents owned the chicken place out there, Pioneer Chicken, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived right about a block away, and I went down there one night with my son. And James Brown was in the Pioneer Chicken there in Burbank, California. And he says, Enos, he said, I didn't know he knew about the Enos show. He said, Enos, you got to put me on your show. And I said, well, James, I said, I'm honored to meet you, Betty. I said, but we're right in the middle of a show, and I don't have any pull about who goes on the show, but I will certainly try. I'd love to have you on the show.
Yeah.
But I talked to the producer about it. I mean, we was right in the middle of a show, and you got writers, you got a lot of politics in this, everything. But I guess if I'd have talked to the right person, but I didn't know the right person. I just, I'd done a few movies, but I was still green about how politics works and who's the right people. But anyway, that was really a neat deal, meeting James Brown and the Pioneer Chicken. And back in 80, I think it was 80 or 81, I can't remember that good, but James Brown was a fabulous guy from Augusta, Georgia. And I hope, I'm sorry you had to wait in line all that time, but but in Augusta Eagles, when we were doing the Longest Yard movie, The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds, they hired, they meaning the movie, hired the Augusta Eagles football, semi-pro football team, the Augusta Eagles, and they were. This is a football movie, and the guards, the guards and the convicts. And I was a convict, the idiot convict in that movie, and I got 2 ribs broken in that movie. That was the longest I'd ever spent on the movie, I believe, 9 weeks in prison, in Reedsville State Prison.
Yeah, that place ain't no joke.
Oh, yeah, they got some bad boys there, and I thought they had some bad girls there, but at the end of the movie, these cheerleaders were all, I mean, they were beautiful cheerleaders, and there was several of them, and each one of them wanted a picture with some of the guys that were in the movie, and so we took some pictures with them, and they were beautiful, and it turned out they were guys dressed up like girls. I mean, that was something else to me. How about anyway, that was a funny deal. But I got pictures of Bert and I, and a little bit of everybody. I got 2 broken ribs for real in that movie, and that was. We were the Augusta Eagles. You had to watch out for those boys. They had something to prove, but they had Ernie Wheelwright with the Falcons, and golly, the guy that got hit in the groin with the football. He was a Packer. I mean, a real professional football player. The meanest guy in football back then.
Oh, I know. I can't think of his name to save my life. I'm gonna have to look it up real quick.
Anyway,
because I know it. I can't spit it out.
Yeah, not Pacasini, but anyway, I think of it, man. But he was a great guy, and the swamp scene where he was wrestling with Burt Reynolds was wrestling with a buddy of his and in prison, and I remember that scene was the first scene they did, and I said they had some real convicts in that and playing that, and that's what made it so interesting. You had convicts, you had professional football players, you had college football players, and you had to watch out for the semi-pros because they would knock the crap out of you, and we really did practice 2 weeks before we did the movie, and they had us all in one place, kind of the guards in one place, and the convicts playing the convicts in another place to build up, comradeship in the movie, and it worked. Bob Aldrich was our director, and he was a great director. I think he did The Dirty Dozen and a men's movie. I mean, really, he was a great director, and he wrote me a letter after that. Well, several people. He said, several people are getting this letter, and many more of you are not. He said, but if you get this letter, I'd like to write a little letter to people that I really enjoyed working with, and try to keep them working in my movies. And he said, call me, and if you ever get to California, call me, and we'll try to get together again or something like that. And I called him this is in 73 we did the movie, I think. I called him in 77. I went out to California for the first time and doing back-to-back Disney movies. And I called the number, and his secretary answered, and she said, who is this? And I said, this is, just tell him Sonny called. And that's how naive I was. Like he knows exactly who it was 3 or 4 years later, I mean, stupid me. But that's how, anyway, that's how naive I was. She came back on the phone and says, he says he don't remember. I didn't tell him the longest yard in. I just said, tell him Sonny called. Anyway, we didn't get together, and I saw him on the Burbank lot. I walked through one afternoon. He remembered me one late afternoon at Warner Brothers while I was doing my own show, or the Dukes of Hazzard one. And we talked for about 3 or 4 minutes, and he's a great man. He's gone now, but Bob Aldrich was a great director and a great man. Anyway, where were we?
Man, we've been all over. You know, you talking about James Brown? I met him when
Brown.
When I was in Augusta living down there. I was walking down there near the Riverwalk one night, and he come out of one of the little clubs with Entourage, and you know, I ain't never met a stranger. So I went toward him. I said, "Mr. Brown," and just introduced myself, and he shook my hand, and you know,
really?
he talked to me, and you know, from then on, it didn't matter where I was. If I saw him anywhere, he would make it a point to come up and shake my hand and ask how I was doing. And that was so neat. You know, before he died, he gave away, you know, toys to kids at Christmas. He gave away turkeys for families on the holidays. Everybody just remembers his bad times, but he was a pretty good guy. He had his demons, but everybody does, you know. And
Amen. I didn't realize at the time how great a talent James Brown really was. He was really an exciting entertainer. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest of all times entertainers. And listen, Buddy Rowe, we'll do this again. I gotta go in there and get some cereal or something or another, and but we'll do this again, Brad. I enjoyed talking with you on smoked meat, boy.